The United States, bounty hunter for the world's criminals, or overreaching its authority? We dive into a domestic law that gives the Americans international power, they say, to arrest and try alleged criminals. I'm Nathan King, sitting in for Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C., and this is The Heat. Judge, jury, and jailer. The United States has been quietly and not so quietly arresting foreign citizens in foreign countries for years, then trying them on American soil and locking them up in American prisons. So is this reach of US foreign policy lawless or law-abiding? CCTV's Jim Spellman breaks it down for us.
It was 2011 when confessed al-Shabaab members Mohammed Yusuf and Mahdi Hashi were detained while traveling between Yemen and Somalia and later interrogated. They were eventually brought to a New York City federal court and charged with terrorism. But the men were not American, had never been to the United States, and apparently were not even plotting attacks against the U.S.
If you are a member of a terrorist group, you will be brought here.
That's based on a U.S. law passed in 2004, partly in response to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001. It gives American courts wide latitude to prosecute accused terrorists if they meet simple criteria. If the defendant is brought to the U.S., even against his or her will, if the offense affects foreign commerce, and if the defendant is accused of aiding or conspiring with anyone under U.S. jurisdiction, effectively broadening the scope of the U.S. justice system.
The bottom line is we have a global war on terror. If you're a member of one of these terrorist groups, you're subject to prosecution.
Prosecutors say Mahdi Hashi, a British citizen until the UK revoked his passport, and Mohammed Yusuf, a Swedish citizen, were part of a suicide bombing program. Yusuf appeared in this recruitment video for al-Shabaab, the Somali-based militant group linked to al-Qaeda, urging Americans to wage jihad.
I encourage you to come to Somalia.
And threatening Swedish cartoonist Lars Vilks.
We will get hold of you, and with Allah's permission, we will catch you wherever you are.
Prosecutors say that was enough to bring him to the U.S. Both men have pled guilty and will be sentenced in September, an outcome that would have been unlikely if the men had remained in Somalia, long considered a safe haven for terrorists.
If we're talking about terrorism cases, we have zero faith in the Somali courts.
The U.S. has also applied the 2004 law to financial crimes, like the charges against FIFA officials. In those cases, if the money trail goes through a U.S. bank, prosecutors say that's enough.
All of these defendants abused the U.S. financial system and violated U.S. law, and we intend to hold them accountable.
Critics say the expansion of U.S. jurisdiction creates a situation where government powers can be abused and makes it almost impossible for the accused to mount an effective defense.
It's really a policy decision that we have to make. Do we want to be the international, not only policemen, not only the international military, but do we want to be the international court now? And so far, the president and his attorney general are saying, yes, that's what we are going to be.
The law was written in part to avoid the controversial military tribunals at the U.S. base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The issue may ultimately be decided by the United States Supreme Court, but even critics concede that this law is likely constitutional. Jim Spellman, CCTV, Washington.